Good morning, good day, good evening to all my Time Doctor customers for joining us. We appreciate all of you and glad you're here. In one moment, let me get things started here. All right. And there we go. Vinny, can you see my screen?
I
Good to
can.
go? All right.
Good to go.
Awesome, awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. As I mentioned, we're glad you're here. Today, we're going to tackle an important topic around employee pushback of Time Doctor. And I want to start today's session with an important question to consider. And is that Time Doctor being misunderstood? That's the question. Is Time Doctor being misunderstood? Time Doctor at its most powerful, it is at its most powerful when it works with your team, and not against your team, right? So we're going to explore how to shift the perception of Time Doctor from a source of resistance to a trusted workplace ally that fosters transparency, autonomy, and trust. We're going to walk you through some practical improvement strategies to make Time Doctor more employee friendly, giving your team greater flexibility while reducing distractions and showing them it's a tool designed to empower and not micromanage. So, specifically in today's session, we're going to cover 5 key strategies to help with employee buy-in of Time Doctor. The first one is creating trust with compassionate settings, and you learn how to set up Time Doctor to enhance transparency while building trust within your team. Next, we'll go into supporting well-being and utilizing break and wellness features to foster healthier work habits and support a balanced workplace culture. After that, we're going to reduce micromanagement. We're going to shift the focus from mere activity monitoring to fostering collaboration and emphasizing outcomes. And then we're going to get into fostering open communication, and you'll discover how to open dialogue that can align expectations and clarify the purpose of Time Doctor's use within your organization. And finally, it's all about empowering through knowledge. Educate your team on how Time Doctor supports productivity and well being to encourage enthusiastic adoption. Now, when employees understand how Time Doctor supports their productivity and well being, not just monitors their time, buy in becomes natural. So let's turn pushback into buy in and make Time Doctor a win for everyone, everyone in leadership and every individual contributor. All right. Super excited today to get things going. And I want to thank all of you for joining us. And I have a special guest today. But before I kick it over to him for an introduction, again, my name is Antonio Vila. I'm the global head of customer success here at Time Doctor, based out of beautiful Cleveland, Ohio. And I've been here for 4 years working with our customers, learning about the problems they're trying to solve with Time Doctor and helping drive their success through our application. It's been a great experience with me, and I've got to partner with Vinny here. Vinny, how are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm good. Getting cold here south of Brazil right now, but yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I'm Vinny. Well, Vinicius is my full name, but Vinny. I'm the VP of People and Culture at Time Doctor, and I've been here for almost 3 years now, but been working with HR for the past 10 plus years, and been working in performance management into building trust and building culture, high performing culture with teams, and I'm here today with Antonio to help you achieve that through Time Doctor as well.
Awesome, Vinny. Awesome. Thanks for joining me today. I'm excited for today's session. Hopefully you are as well. All right.
Me too. Yeah, of course.
Fantastic. All right. So as we typically do here, guys, we're going to start with just some general housekeeping. So first and foremost, your mics are muted. This is just to control any background noise. Sometimes we get the occasional landscaper or kids running into the sessions, and we don't want that today. We don't want that distracting and disrupting anyone. So all mics are muted, but we do encourage participation today. So what we'd like you to do is use the Q&A button in your panel. Make sure you post any questions you have in real time. We'll be glad to answer those as we can. And anything we cannot get to today, we're going to make sure we reach out to and cover in a follow-up. Okay. We're going to also share the recording after this, as we always do. But one important thing to remember is we have all recordings in a great library of resources right on our website. Right on our website in the resources tab, you'll find this recording once we make it available, and then recordings from all previous webinars we've done over the past few years. Okay. So we'll be glad to share that when we're done as usual. And that kind of wraps up what we have for housekeeping. Going into the agenda, and then I thought we had a icebreaker poll, so that may pop up here in a moment. Um, but we're going to also just cover our agenda quickly. So the agenda is going to be basically, again, talking about Time Doctor and is it or is it not a villain? It's up for you to determine, but hopefully not. We're going to cover that and dive right into that, right? Then we're going to go into some core strategies, as you can see here, about fostering good communication, empowering through knowledge, the things that I mentioned earlier, and then also wrap it up with some Q&A at the end. Okay, so as you have your questions, as you think about your questions and what we're discussing today, just make sure you post those questions and we'll get those answered for you. Okay, all right. All right, there's my poll that I was waiting for. All right, so quick poll. Want to know from all of you today, because this is a hot topic for us. Um, how would you describe your team's buy-in to Time Doctor? Okay, so there's going to be four options to choose from here. We're in, 100%. People got it quickly. Second option is a mixed bag. Some fans, some skeptics, some people on the fence. Third one, let's just say it's been a little rough, right? A little rough start. Employees just getting to learn what Time Doctor is. They may have some questions about it, but overall, it's been a rough road there. And then for some of you, maybe some that have just recently deployed, or maybe just not sure where you are. You're still trying to figure it out and quietly observing. All right. We'll give this just a few more seconds. I'm curious to see where we land. It's awesome that we can see these results in real time, Vinny. You can kind of see the race for
Yep.
first place and who's going to get there, right?
It's a tough race here, but
Absolutely.
it's good to see. It's good to see what we're getting here. So
Exactly. All right. So just about everyone's responded, and I'm going to end the poll here. And there we go. So we have a clear
okay.
winner. Not sure if you guys can see this, but the number one winner is, which we're very happy to hear, is that we're in and people got it quickly. Okay. So that's great to hear. There's a lot of good practices and things to share, and Vin is going to talk about some of that here with some of his content about how to really deploy Time Doctor in a good, positive way. But we're glad to hear everyone, for the most part, that answered feels that their teams got it and got it pretty quickly. We do understand new employees come in, maybe new leaders come in. There still could be some questions come up as far as the buy-in of Time Doctor and how to help your employees buy in more. So we're going to make sure we cover everything on our agenda today to help you with that. And someone that has some great experience with this internally at Time Doctor is, of course, Vinny. So as Vinny mentioned, he's our VP of People and Culture. He not only backs the product, but he's been instrumental in us deploying it and using Time Doctor internally. So he's going to share us some good insights on his experience with Time Doctor. And now I'll just kick it over to Vinny.
Absolutely. All right. Let me just close here the screen. All right. So let's get started. Is Time Doctor a villain, right? Um, and I have to be honest with you, right? So when we're talking about any sort of performance tracking software or time tracking software as well, rarely is a smooth ride, right? And as the past 10 years in HR, I've helped implement performance tools across different teams, and every time the pattern is the same, right? There's hesitation from people, questions from managers, and even fear sometimes, right? And the question that I hear the most is, or I used to hear the most was, am I being watched? Is this about control or trust? And it's such an important topic, right? Because as team leaders, and I'll include myself here as an HR professional, we're walking a tightrope, right? We need visibility to understand performance. We need to spot inefficiencies, right? And we need to support team growth. But we also want to build a culture of trust. We don't want a culture of surveillance. And workforce analytics becomes a challenge and an opportunity in this setting, right? To summarize, and yeah, that's the slide I need, Antonio. Thank you.
Perfect.
Workforce
Yep.
analytics is the process of using data to understand how employees work so we can make smarter and fairer decisions, right? It's not about counting keystrokes, but it's about seeing the big picture, right? So what are the productivity bottlenecks that as a leader you're encountering in your teams? Are we using our team capacity efficiently? Are we extending it to the most? Like, are we really taking advantage of that? And is someone showing signs of burnout before it becomes a problem? Because at the end of the day, people makes business, right? It's the people that drives the business. So we need to take care of the people that are in the company as well. So if you do it right, if you pay attention to these details, workforce analytics will help managers make better decisions and will give employees clarity in what they need to thrive, right? So there are mutual benefits for the companies and benefits for the individuals, right? They're listed here in the slides, but definitely for companies, it's about spotting the inefficiencies. It's improving your project planning and getting that real-time data, aligning team output, and get it together with business goals and increase profitability through better resource allocation. For individuals, it's clarity on how they spend their time, right? It's a recognition for deep focus and hard work. It's also data to support conversations about their own workload, goals, and well-being, and empowerment to manage their own time and energy more intentionally. So it's all about a mutual value, and transparency works both ways, right? Um, so I think that's the general part of what workforce analytics is. And that's where Time Doctor comes into play, right? So, Antonio, if you could kick into the next slide, please.
Mhm.
There you go, right? So Time Doctors, we're not only a time tracker, we're much more than that, right? We are a workforce analytics platform designed to give actionable insights at every level, right? We have three divisions here, right, to start. Team insights. So understand if your team is working effectively in a collaborating and in a sustainable way. You have manager insights to help you identify coaching opportunities and support growth, and company insights, where you uncover processes inefficiencies, improve productivity, and increase profitability. Each one of them independently is super important, but when you combine them, that's a powerful tool. It's so important because you are giving your employees the ability to understand how they are performing. As leaders and company ownership, you understand where inefficiency is happening, and you can cut to the chase and just make sure things stop, right? And you get your leaders to support you doing that work. But for that to happen well, you have to build trust. And there are some core strategies to drive buy-in from your employees, right? And it starts with clear, open communication, because adoption isn't just about the tool, but it's about how you introduce it to the team, right? So um, these insights, Antonio is going to talk about them
Mhm.
further in the session. But I want to start talking to you about fostering that open communication now. So next slide, please, Antonio. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was a slide there, but if you can come back to that one, that's fine.
All good. Yeah, there
Um,
you go.
yeah. Well, how do we start, right? How you explain Time Doctor to the team, right? And I'll be upfront with you. It's I've been in your shoes. It's and I know how sensitive it can be to introduce any kind of tracking to a team, and that's why I want to be really clear again. We are not just a time tracker. We're a workforce analytics platform designed to help managers lead with trust and not control. And that trust doesn't happen automatically. It has to be built. And it starts with how we are talking to your teams, right? And if you're wondering, how do I explain this without making people feel watched? You're not alone. I've had to do this, and I want to make it easier for you. Antonio, if you keep two slides ahead, I have a little pitch that we have written there for everyone.
There we go.
There you go. So
Hmm.
this is a pitch that you can use. I think it's an honest one, it's respectful, and it's focused on mutual benefit, right? From the company and side and from the employee side. So I'll quickly read it through you, but you get this material as well afterwards. So we're using Time Doctor to get better visibility into how work happens, not to monitor every move, but to better understand what's working and what's not. It's about trust, not control. The goal is to make productivity data accessible so everyone, not just managers, can see where time is going, where we're focused, and where we might need support. This isn't about counting hours, it's about working smarter. Time Doctor helps us spot distractions, avoid burnout, and make better decisions about how we use our time. That means fewer surprises, more recognition, and clear priorities. That's a short message. very straightforward, again, very honest, clear, and transparent. But the key takeaway from this, and in my opinion, it works really well, is that let the team hear the message from you first, right? So that way they know this isn't something being done to them, it's something being done for them, right? There's a big difference there. Um, again, we'll send you the recording after the session, but if you want to take a screenshot here, it's easier. If you want to go ahead and start implementing that as we speak here, go ahead and do it. So, how you introduce them, doctor, is just as important as what you say. And there is a few extra things that I would like to mention that, I found to make a big difference. Uh, Share what settings are active and why. Being upfront and transparent about the how Time Doctor is configured, it's super important. Being clear with your team about the features that are turned on, and also why they're active. It's so helpful, right? So, for example, if screenshots are enabled, explain the purpose, not for surveillance, but for context when reviewing workflows or resolving blockers, right? And we'll dive into employee-friendly settings soon. But understanding what's currently active will help you fine-tune your setup and make it easier to explain these settings in a way your team understands and accepts, right? So um, use simple and open language. Avoid technical jargon. Speak clearly and candidly. Welcome questions. You can build Q&A into your rollout because it will show you're open and not hiding anything, right? And invite early feedback. Let employees know their input matters. Show them you're listening and adjusting based on what they share to you. This is a way that you're going to build trust with the team. And that's what will turn a tool like Time Doctor from a point of tension into shared resource for better work. Um, I think
It's
I gave
amazing,
you
Vinny.
a few things here to get started, and I think Antonio can
Yeah.
share some practical insights now.
Very, very cool message. Awesome strategies, Vinny. I work with a lot of customers over the past few years, and nailing this type of communication is critical. This is a great example. I've seen a lot of versions of this, but this is as good as it gets because it talks about the just the transparency, right? And a few things that are really critical with these messages. It's about what's in it for the employees, right? Why the company is adopting Time Doctor, why they chose to go this way. And one probably the most important thing I would say with all of this is it demonstrating the company that this is coming, this is top-down supported, right? The entire company buys into this. This is the direction we're going. These are the benefits why. This is what we're tracking, what we're not. But when you combine all of that with a message like this, it makes the adoption more understandable, quicker. Employees buy in, understand why the company is doing it, but also why it's important to me, right? And I'm going to go also
Yep.
touch on a few of those things you mentioned here, right? It's in terms of why it's important to the employees and employee friendly settings and all of that. So really good insights there, Vinny. I appreciate that.
Nice.
All right. So one of the topics I mentioned earlier we're going to focus on is really empowering through knowledge, right? So let's talk about what really drives employee adoption. It's really helping them understand how Time Doctor is a tool that benefits them and not just used by management, right? So as managers, it's important for us to consistently communicate the personal value of Time Doctor. A couple highlights and things you want to make sure they understand is basically, oops, there we go. Sorry, guys. There we go. All right. So it's basically helping them understand how their time is spent, not just clocking hours, but identifying where the bottlenecks are, where the time wasters might be, right? Like all the patterns of activity where they can really understand how their time is being spent. After that, it's about getting recognition, right? Not only for the outcomes and the good things they're doing, but for deep work and focus, and really spending the right time in the right applications, because all that's going to be visible within Time Doctor for them. And then it's also about driving better conversations. So when you're having one-on-ones and your coaching sessions, you can really talk about workload and burnout productivity using just very direct data coming out of Time Doctor. With that, also be able to spot patterns. So again, you can identify those time leaks and make intentional changes to make sure your team's more focused and productive. And then also work with more clarity and autonomy. Know it's working, know it's not. It's going to be all very visible there, not only for the manager, but for the employee to see and spot themselves before they have the conversation with their managers. All right. So what I'll do next is spend just a few minutes going into the console to do a quick demo on some of these things that I mentioned here. All right. So bear me one moment. Let me move myself around a bit, and then we'll get started. Vinny, can you still see my screen in the Time Doctor console?
Yes,
Good to
I
go?
can see the user
All right.
dashboard right now. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I'm going to cover four things here, four or five things here in this quick demo. Okay. The first one's going to be the user dashboard. So I liken the user dashboard in Time Doctor really to one thing that I often love seeing or dread seeing, and that's my screen report on my iPhone, right? If I look at that, it's going to let me know, Antonio, you're spending way too much time on social media, maybe way too much time on Netflix on your phone where you shouldn't be, right? You have way too many distractions, and for as good as you set out the week to be and productive, your time's getting wasted and drained elsewhere, right? And I can spot those patterns and see where that time is. Very similar as the user dashboard. So the user dashboard gives you a great view, and I'm going to start it with a daily view because there's just like all other Time Doctor reports and dashboards, you can change your view from that specific day to the past 7 days to any date range you want, and you get different views within those dashboards. Okay. But if I look at today, it's going to give me a quick overview of how much time I've tracked in Time Doctor, along with the timeline. And I'll get into the timeline report in here in one moment to show when I stopped and started my day and all the breaks in between. And then if I have screencast enabled, it'll show me that. And then all the websites and apps I've used throughout the day and the different projects and tasks I'm on. So this is a really cool overview and understanding of where my time is being spent today. But if I want to further analyze, again, different patterns of activity, I can take a look at the 7 day view, and it's going to give me a quick timeline view at the top. It's going to give me also more data on where my time is being spent and how productive I am. But it's just not about managers viewing this. It's something employees can view and check regularly to stay in control of their day and to spot those patterns in preparation for the conversations with your managers or just to self-correct right away. So this is a really good overview. Again, kind of like your screen report on your iPhone, gives you a quick overview of where your time is being spent, how much time was spent there, so you can make those adjustments as you need to. All right. The next one I'm going to show here is the timeline report. So we saw a bit of this one in the user dashboard. And again, this one can be reviewed by the day to see my patterns of work throughout the day. So this is a day that I captured where I started, about the time that I normally start. Sometimes I start earlier or later, but then I can also see all the gaps in between the days. So I can see when I took breaks, when I went for a walk, when I just went to get away from work for a while. All of that is critically important so you're not burning out throughout the day and you're staying sharp and productive, right? There's a lot of studies that show when you take frequent breaks throughout the day, you're going to be way more productive, way more alert, way more engaged. So you have to make sure you're balancing out your time and not just working and grinding 10 hours a day, right? You can see those patterns of activity. And if I want to know exactly what I worked on in the morning, afternoon, or any of these time blocks, you can click on it, drill down, and get more further information on that. Okay. All right. So the next one I'm going to show here is the projects and tasks. So if you're using the projects and tasks functionality in Time Doctor, which I don't do, so I'm using one of my teammates here, you can see how much time you're allocating to specific projects and tasks. In some cases, you have those set up by the clients that employees are working for, or any big projects you have as an organization. But I can really see and make sure that I'm spending the right amount of time on the right projects and tasks in order to drive productivity and to make sure that I'm focused on the right things. Okay. So this is a really cool report that again, you can see the day that you're in or any date range to spot those patterns to show you where your time is being spent specifically and to make sure it's spent on the right projects and tasks. All right. The next one is the web and app report. So this is probably one of my favorite reports, and sometimes it gives a little more detail than I want, but it's good because you need to know these things in order to know where your time is being spent. Okay. So instead of the projects and tasks, this report is going to show you how much time is spent in each individual application. So for example, if I'm an employee that wants to basically, I'm going to look at this two different ways, two different examples I'll give you. One is after weeks go by, months go by, where I feel like I'm just grinding and not getting the output I want or not hitting the goals that I want, I'm going to look at a few things, right? One thing I'm going to look at is to see how much time I'm spending in meetings, all right? And if that's an issue, then I can make adjustments. I can reschedule meetings. I can allocate different team members in meetings. But this is going to show me things like how much time I'm spending in meetings, Just as an example, one of the cool use cases I have right now that I'm really hot on is I really want to use AI more. AI more to increase my productivity, to reduce time spent on manual redundant tasks, and to really just be better as a thought partner as I'm strategizing for the team. So I can take a look back to see, like for instance, in this view, I spent a lot of time in Google Docs building processes, building requirements, building all kind of things to communicate with the team and content for our customers. But I don't see a good mix of AI usage there, right? ChatGPT, any other AI tool. So that tells me I'm grinding, but I'm probably not as productive and intuitive as I could be because I'm not using AI enough. Okay. So whether it's AI or meetings that you want to eliminate or reduce or use more of like AI, then you can really look at this web and app usage to see and make sure you're spending time in the right applications. All right. The next one I'll show you, it's not a report necessarily, but it's a really cool feature that we recently introduced, and that's the self-assigned tasks. So with this, employees can create and track their own tasks right from the desktop as long as you enable that and allow them to do that. Okay. Before this, employees were reliant on the preset and predetermined tasks that their managers had set up for them. But sometimes they'd be shifting gears and working on a project that's not on that list and didn't have a good way to allocate that. And it's important to allocate that the right way so not only you can see where your time is being spent, but also so your leadership can see that as well. So allowing this and enabling this within the app, again, this is something they'll use in their desktop app if they have the interactive version of Time Doctor. But this is a super cool feature that we recently introduced to help employees really allocate the time, be really intentional about where their time is being spent. Okay. So when you consider all this and understand that employees, when they understand how to use Time Doctor, they can understand it's going to help them work smarter, not harder, and they stop seeing Time Doctor as a control tool, right, as the enemy. Instead, they see it as a performance partner and something that gives them control, insights, and clarity. And when that shift happens, trust grows, adoption increases, and productivity becomes a shared goal, not just a pressure point. All right. So hopefully you learned something there and can take back something that you can teach your employees on how they can monitor and track their own usage in Time Doctor and really start analyzing this first themselves and then bring conversations to you as their leaders. All right. So with that, Vinny, I think this is a perfect moment to shift the focus and let's talk about well-being if that's okay.
Absolutely.
All
All right.
right.
So, well, Antonio just gave us a great a few examples of how you can set up the platform for success. And internally at Time Doctor, we use them in so many different ways as well. Antonio and his team use it in a certain way where he showed you here, and people and culture, I use it in a different way as well. So the beauty of it is that it's so customizable that each team can, design it to the best results, the best reports you want to get from them as well. But shifting the gears towards supporting well-being, right? I think, you know, work-life balance is often easier said than done, right? Demands of work paired with personal commitments, it just becomes challenging to find the right balance between them, right? But it's crucial that we just don't focus on productivity at the expense of well-being. Productivity is key and it's very important, but we need to make sure people are well. And the reality is that burnout is on the rise. And as managers, it's our responsibility to address it, right? Um, if you can go to the next slide, Antonio, I have some big stats there to share with everyone,
Mm,
right? So this is all coming from World Health Organization, right? 12 billion working days are lost every year to depression and anxiety, and over
mm,
$1 trillion per year in lost productivity, right? So the World Health Organization defines burnout as a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed, right? Big words for something very important. It's a growing issue, and as leaders, we need to create an environment where mental well-being is just as important as performance. And this requires thoughtful strategies. It requires open discussions and implementing those best practices. And we can be, and we are an ally in creating a healthy, more sustainable work environment. And I would like to talk about how we can use Time Doctor and some other practices to help our teams achieve a better work-life balance and prevent burnout. So if you could shift ahead to the next slide. There are a few things here that are super important, right? So starting with encouraging regular breaks, right? One of the most important elements of well-being at work is ensuring that employees take regular breaks. Frequent pauses promote mental clarity, they help reduce stress, and also help prevent burnout. And studies show that short, consistent breaks can enhance focus, can, and not only focus, but productivity and the overall well-being. And Time Doctor makes it easier to track the break times, and we ensure employees take the necessary moments to rest without compromising the work goals, right? So, a few tips on how Time Doctor can help, right? Who should take breaks? You can define who, user or groups, based in your team, and allow to take breaks and whether or not to limit break times, right? So this is all manageable this is all customizable by the manager's side. Um, we've had the paid breaks feature for a while, but soon we're rolling out the unpaid break features as well. And this means you have the flexibility to track all types of breaks while staying in line with your salary policies and keeping your reports accurate. And I think this is a super important feature. You can use the timeline report to monitor if employees are working either like super long stretches without breaks, and if needed, you can use reports to track total break time and intervene if an employee's schedule seems out of balance, right? So this is all about us having the control of what's going on, right? And understanding how to better use the platform to read those insights, right? Um, so when talking about encouraging regular breaks, this is it, right? Using the tool will help you manage that, but you still should, on a personal matter, encourage people to take those breaks. We also should encourage the use of time off because breaks are great, but time off is essential for long-term productivity and mental health, right? Encouraging employees to take their paid time off, right, or PTO, can prevent burnout as well and can foster a healthier culture overall. However, it's crucial that employees don't feel guilty about taking this time, and they should be reminded regularly to use it. And this is an interesting balance, right? Uh, it's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking if people are taking PTO or they're encouraged to do it, they're not going to be productive. It actually is the opposite. If you do have a PTO plan, if you have your managers planning ahead, and you're not putting your work into a bottleneck of deliveries that you can't achieve because everyone is in PTO, um, it can really help foster a positive culture in your team, and definitely long-term productivity will increase. And you can track PTO with Time Doctor using the schedule feature. You can import your team time off, but also your team can request their time off, keeping all records accurate. This helps with payroll and all other reports as well. And you can enable to get email notifications of each request, and you can approve or deny these requests directly. And this feature helps ensure your team doesn't overlook the importance of taking time off. So that's the second one, right? Moving into the next one, setting clear boundaries between work and personal time. Working remotely, it's a challenge, and having a clear separation between work and personal time is vital for mental well-being. It's essential to set policies that will minimize after hours work and also to set clear expectations for response times to emails and other communications. And this, we need to lead by example. Managers should be leading this, respecting personal time and reinforcing its importance, right? Um, we do have an important widget that, Time Doctor, it can really help here with the work-life balance widget. And it's, to me, one of the most powerful tools for maintaining work-life boundaries because it will provide insights of who's working late, who's working too many hours, either on weekends or outside of scheduled shifts, right? You can use team and executive dashboards to get this overview of potential work-life balance issues across your team. And the executive dashboard gives you a group view, while the team dashboard lets you see individual employee patterns. So you can use both dashboards to help you understand that data. And as an actionable item, right? If you see an employee working too many late hours or excessive hours in a day, you can dive deeper into their timeline report to understand their work pattern. For some, late hours may be part of their routine. For others, it might indicate an increased workload, such as, filling in for a missing team member, for example, right? In either case, this data will give you actionable insights for better workload management. The next one, which is watching for extra work, right? Keep an eye on if they're picking up extra work, right? As we said, if someone seems overwhelmed, it could be due to multiple projects or looming deadlines. Our projects and tasks report will be able to help you assess if someone is juggling too many responsibilities at once, right? Are they tasks prioritized? Is there a clear path to completion? When you review those reports, you can, have help, like you will have the help to decide if task redistribution or deadline extensions are needed to prevent burnout. And sometimes performance changes occur based on employees covering colleagues who are absent, right? We mentioned this before on setting the boundaries. Time Doctor allows you to track and take additional tasks for people, right? Providing visibility into their increased workload. So this can help you identify employees who may be stretched thin and offer support where necessary as well, which is very important. This is watching when people are doing too much is as essential as important as watching people that are not doing enough. And last one here, offer flexibility, right? Flexible working hours. One of the simplest ways to improve work-life balance is by offering flexible working hours. If your company doesn't require a rigid schedule, flexibility is an easy win, right? That's not always possible, and that's fine. But if it is, it's a super helpful way of doing it. Allow employees to choose when they work, whether early mornings or late evenings, lets them align their schedule with their personal lives and natural productivity rhythms. And Time Doctor here helps you, allowing you to track hours with flexibility. You can set up fixed working hours or track flexible schedules without micromanaging. And the best part, employees still get the freedom to choose their work hours while you maintain visibility into productivity and work patterns, right? Uh, true productivity includes rest, recovery, and realistic workloads. So those 3 points are super important. Work-life balance shouldn't be a luxury. True productivity doesn't come from constant work. It's about balance. As HR, we have to juggle people's perspectives, right? Personal perspectives, and but we also have to juggle the business. I have a saying that to me is super important, and I take it into Time Doctor always, that as as HR, we should be people centric. We should take care of the people, but we should be business first as well, because people doesn't the business doesn't exist without the people, but that people, those jobs don't exist without the business, right? So we do have to sit in. It's not about sitting in a fence. It's about being clear that you were going to take care of people, but we're going to do it respecting the business needs and making sure it all fits together, right? So when you have that in mind, it becomes easier for you to look into you know those important aspects of resting, recovering, and really setting the realistic workloads for people, right? So, um, and when you put all that together, right, it will help your team understand that Time Doctor isn't just about tracking time, but also it's there to support their own well-being. They will start see Time Doctor as a tool that empowers them to maintain balance and help them succeed at work. And I think that's at the end of the day, that's what we want. That's what we want to achieve, right? So, um, I think I'll pass it along to Antonio now so he can continue. But I think those points, which again will be given to you later,
Yeah.
are super important. And this is just an overview. You can deep dive into those a lot as well.
Yeah, and I think the key there, Vinny, is like you can do all of that, right? You can be super flexible. You can use Time Doctor. Look, as managers, we want to trust our teams, but we also have a high level of accountability for our teams and productivity, right? So
Yeah,
with Time Doctor, allowing that flexibility with the trust and verify philosophy allows you to just trust your team and then just spot check when you need to make sure people are working those flexible shifts, things are getting done, you're getting the outcomes you want. So really cool message there, Vinny. And again, as I'm thinking about you explaining all of that, the light bulb that went off is you can do all of that. You can do all of that and deploy it with trust and confidence, and it can be used as a tool, again, to get good insights and drive productivity. All right.
absolutely.
So really good stuff. All right. To speed things up a bit here, guys, I want to stay on the topic of trust. And I want to talk about just setting some, using time docking, setting some compassionate or employee friendly settings and configuration setups in time doctor. Again, just to make sure the trust is there, you're being mindful of their privacy and anything else you should be, right? So a couple things we recommend to consider. Number one is screenshots are a very, very important tool. Like one of the most highly used features that our customers use is our screenshots for a lot of different reasons. They give you the information you need. They can verify exactly what you need when you need it. And there's a lot of really important things, a lot of power behind having screenshots enabled. However, they can be a little intrusive sometimes. Your employees can feel they're a little intrusive, and sometimes you may just be seeing things that you'd rather not see, like customer data, financial information. So, what I say to this, what I always tell my customers is to definitely use the screencast feature. But two things you want to consider. One is the cadence and how frequently you need them, right? So if you don't need them every 3 minutes, which can be a bit excessive, you can switch it to any of these other intervals here. The real main thing, though, is consider whether you need to see them in full clarity. In most cases, you don't, to be honest with you, because you can make out what a spreadsheet is. You can make out if someone's an email or chat, even if the screenshots are blurred. So if you make the decision to blur your screenshots, that can go a long way with your employees because they know you're not just really all in the mix and seeing every last detail of what they're doing, right? You can still get the idea of what they're doing, but it leaves them some privacy and maybe even protects you as an employer that you're not basically having access to any sensitive data. So I'd consider blurring a screencast if you don't have it now. I think that's a good way to show some trust to your employees and also protect yourself as a company. The next one here is the edit time. So this is something you will need to enable. I have my setting here to regular users because this is specific to regular users. And this little pro tip here is for any of these settings you're going to control and manage in Time Doctor. So you can make bulk settings and changes to different user roles or different teams or specific individual employees. If after today's session I say, hey, I want to blur screenshots for all employees, I can do that basically based on the team, the whole company, whatever the case may be. But you can bulk edit those changes here. We just went over the blurring screenshots. The next one is the edit time feature. So edit time is important because employees want to have more control, just if they can have more control over what's being tracked and how it's being tracked. And they may overreact or feel a certain way if they forgot to start Time Doctor, or maybe time was tracked when they weren't working or not tracked when they should have been working. So allowing them to edit time will give them a lot of flexibility. Again, it'll give them the trust that they can edit time when they need to. And you can choose to do that again at the team level, at the company level, or the individual employee level. And it's not only that you can allow them to do this, but if you're still unsure, if you're still on the fence, if you want them to have that level of editing capability, you can also make it so your managers have to approve that. Okay. So the two options there allow them just to edit time. And once they determine that something needs to be changed or updated, they can submit that request and it'll update in the time track. Or you can make it so they submit that request and manager has to review and approve it, and then it's added to their time track. But that's another way to really gain a lot of trust and give them a little more control of what's being tracked and when it's being tracked. All right. The next thing here is the timeout after feature. So this is the feature that kicks in and sends a reminder after a certain number of minutes have passed where there's no time doctor activity. Okay, so you can set this to as low as you want. So if you're monitoring a role or employees that have the need to constantly be busy and shouldn't have many stop and starts throughout the day, like support teams, maybe even an inbound sales team, you can set it low. But if not, consider bumping it out a bit to 15 minutes, a half hour. That way, the employee can go and get some coffee, take a step back, think about something, come back, and not see the pop up right away where they'll feel unnecessary pressure or like there's just an additional level of monitoring that makes them feel uncomfortable. That pop up, you can push that out again to anything you want, whether it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. But you'll be surprised how much that does for them to not feel that added pressure that they can't be away for too long. They have to hurry up and get back to track time. Just set that out to a little further than what it may be today, and that'll give them more time to get back to their work and what they need to do. All right. So after that, I want to talk about the don't auto start the app. So these settings that I described, a lot of them are going to be customizable and configured here. We talked about the user created task one. You can do that here in the don't time out on calls. That's another one along with the timeout after. But some of these settings are available in your company settings. Okay. So one you can consider enabling or disabling is the don't auto start the app every day. So again, think about the situation where employees are getting up early just to read, to get an early start to their day before they even want to let anyone know they're available. Lord knows I do that all the time because I want to work on things just in private, in a little bit of quietness before the kids get up and before everyone starts checking in. So you can choose to disable that so the app does not start automatically every day if you have the interactive mode that is. And this way they can start it right in their desktop app when they're ready to start working and start tracking time. Okay, so that's one thing I'd encourage you to consider maybe disabling is the don't or the auto start the app daily. And then another one, we talked about the web and app usage report earlier. So I'm going to scroll down here to this one because this one is important to really understand and know. For some companies and some teams, you want to see what they're doing and not just see that they're in the G Suite, but see what specific documents they're working on. Or not just that they're in Zoom, you want to see who they're having meetings with. Okay. If you don't need that level of granularity, then I encourage you to just use the basic website and app tracking, which is what we do internally at Time Doctor. And this will give you, again, the understanding of what application they're in without going that far into detail on what specifically they're working on or who they're speaking to. So that's another great thing to consider to give them a little more trust, a little more flexibility. And again, sometimes you don't need that full level of detail. Okay. And then the last one we talked about earlier was just allowing them to create their own tasks within the desktop app if you have the interactive version again. So again, this allows them to just basically indicate what they're working on and not choose from a dedicated static list that your managers have created. Obviously, that's important, but you don't want to take away from anything else they're working on that's valuable, that's important, that they should be working on. And you don't want them just having to, message a manager or get permission to add that task. Just give them that flexibility, allow them to edit their own tasks and add their own tasks, and that'll give them more control of their day so they can really accurately describe what they're working on. All right. So the most important thing to remember is you're not locked into one way of using Time Doctor, right? It's super flexible, and that's one of the biggest strengths of Time Doctor. You can control it to your employees or to your preferences for your employees, and really what works best for you as a company. All right. So if your team, if they value autonomy, maybe turn off the auto start and let them control their day when it begins. If privacy is a concern, blur the screenshots maybe. It's just a simple step that builds a lot of trust. And if your team needs flexibility, be generous about the timeout settings. That's another just reminder of some of the settings you can update. All right. And when you lead that way with trust and empathy, productivity will follow. The bind to Time Doctor will be there, and you have a lot of good things that happen after that. All right. All right, so let me go back to my presentation because we're just about done here. And these are all the things that I mentioned earlier. I just went into the console to demo these for you. Okay, so a lot of the features we present today, they come from different plans. Some, for example, are on basic. Some like breaks and work-life balance are available in standard. The executive dashboard and leave schedules that Vinny mentioned, those are in the premium plan. So the good news is, if you're interested in trying any premium features or upgrading your plan, we're going to run a 14-day free trial of the premium. And if you have any questions at all on what level of access you have or want to discuss that further, I encourage all of you that have a dedicated client success manager to reach out to them. They can walk you through it. They can show you how to use it. They can get you into that trial. We're also running a poll here to see if anyone is interested in trying one of the higher plans. If you are, we'll collect your information and we'll be sure to follow up with you. All right. All right. So please keep submitting that poll so we can get back to you, and I'll leave it open. And for now, I want to get to some Q&A. Okay. So, Vinny, I have a few questions here that I'll tackle, but feel free to jump in as you see it. And I'm going to take the first one
Okay.
here, just be mindful of time. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, question from Asan. Asan, you had a question on how to evaluate idle minutes based on different JDs. All right. So, two things on this. Someone say something? Okay.
I was
Two
gonna say
things on
yeah, I can help that, but I'll let you lead it and I'll give you insight.
Yeah, yeah. The two things I was going to say, Vinny, is when we set up and configure Time Doctor, we encourage you to set up your groups in Time Doctor based on similar job roles. That we have a good and equal comparison of people doing the same job and the same level of activities, right? So first and foremost, make sure your those JDs you want to compare are all set up in a group the same way so you can see that level of activity and how each one of them compare. The other really cool thing is we're working on a new benchmarking report. So not only will you be able to see how your team compares amongst each other, but amongst other users in the Time Doctor community of users, which is over 10,000, I'm sorry, 10,000 companies and 250,000 users. We have a lot of data we collect. We have a benchmarking report that will give you good insights on how your team compares to employees at other companies doing the same role. So those are the two things I'll mention. If you need further help with that, connect with your CSM. But first and foremost, make sure the teams are set up the right way in the groups in Time Doctor, and then look out for the benchmarking report. Vinny, anything to add there?
Well, not related to the platform itself, but if you use that setting up Time Doctor that way, and all the benchmark reports are fantastic for that as well. But what you can do is when you're identifying your top performers, when you're using your own performance evaluation tools, internal tools, right? You understand who your top performer is and understand from that level of performance using Time Doctor data what's the ideal idle time? What's the ideal active time? And if you do set up specific tasks, like I do in my team, right? We have everything set by tasks, understand which ones are the operational level, tactical level, strategic level. Then it will be easy for you to have the right internal benchmark. Because yes, a developer should have very little idle time. But when I'm the VP of people and culture, I do a lot of interviews. When I'm interviewing, I'm not keystroking or I'm focused on the candidate, I'm looking at them, the screen is there's nothing happening but my attention there, so my idle time on that part is high. So when I think about a recruiter, for example, it is a high idle time, so you have to differentiate those. And the tool Time Doctor will help you, and this is also part of an internal your internal dedication to separate those profiles and understand who the top performers are and set them as the benchmark.
100%. And there's another follow-up question from Hassan, or I think it was, no. Jason, asking how to interpret idle time as some team members have high idle time minutes. So the definition of idle time is basically, and I'll just use idle minutes for this. Anytime 60 seconds has passed where there's no keyboard or mouse movement at all on any monitor or anywhere that employee is working. Okay. So again, 60 seconds pass, there's zero keyboard or mouse movement. And as those minutes add up, that's your idle time percentage. Okay. Now, question we always get asked, which is why we're coming off the benchmark report, is what's a healthy idle time, right? Where should I be concerned? And that's really individual to the company and your expectations of your employees. But the answer I will give you is think about the job role itself and what you really expect of them, right? I'll use the support agent analogy again. For a support team, inbound support team or sales team, response times are critical, right? Customer experience is critical. You don't want to lose that lead that's coming in on your inbound sales team. So you want to make sure for those teams, idle time is relatively low. And if you're not sure what a good number is, you let Time Doctor run for a month, see where your top performers are on those teams in terms of idle time and what the average idle time of the team is. And it's somewhere in between there, right? That's going to be your magic number to baseline and use to measure going forward. But it's going to vary by team. It's going to vary by company. To Vinny's point, he's a leader. I'm a leader. I'm in a lot of meetings. I'm watching videos. I'm learning from my team. So I tend to have a higher idle time than our support team, our sales team, and maybe some of our CSM. So it really just depends on the role in the company and what you're comfortable with. All right. I'm going to pull one more question here, then just be mindful of time. We're almost at the end of it. But one question I have here is about projects and tasks and how to create them. So this is something that in most cases, or in all cases, your admins and owners can set up, and in some cases, managers if you allow them to do that. Okay. But basically, you can create those right from within the projects and task report if you do have that permission level. And mine is a demo environment, so I don't think I have that available to show today because I set up the screen specific to today's session. But connect with your CSM or support team. We'll show you how. We even have great help center articles about this. So just search how to do it, but it's super easy. You just have to make sure you have the right level permission and Time Doctor to set it up. Okay. And then we've got a few more. Can we track user camera from Time Doctor software? So if I'm understanding that correctly, webcam shots, the ability to see that employee specifically through a webcam. I think that's the question. In Time Doctor 2, we don't have that functionality. I don't know that we plan on building that functionality, possibly in the future, but right now we feel that you can capture everything you need to verify the employee's working and productivity and anything you need based on the different reports, the screencast, and everything else we have in Time Document. We don't have the direct webcam shots if that's what you're asking. Okay. All right. So there are a few more questions and maybe some more that'll trickle in. So we'll be glad to respond to those. If you have a client success manager, please reach out to them for anything we covered today. If you want to have more deeper conversations on anything you learned, we're not only here to help you utilize Time Doctor, but obviously to make sure you're deploying it the right way, helping you with that change management, helping you build the trust and confidence in your employees to use Time Doctor. Because again, it can be your productivity champion, it can be a productivity partner. And for managers, there's no better way to get the insights and data you need when you need it, but you can still do this with trust and compassion if you set it up the right way. All right. So we'll be glad to help you with all of that. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. We really appreciate you guys and look out for the next customer education webinar. It's going to be next month. We'll communicate the time and day for that and the topic. But thank you for joining today. We're going to share the recording. They'll be on the website in our resources and webinars. But yeah, Vinny, thank you as well. It's awesome doing this with you. I appreciate your time today and for everything you shared with us.
Thank
You're a
you.
huge resource to us. I appreciate you.
Thank you. It
All
was
right.
a pleasure, and giving these insights, it's so helpful, and I'm always here.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right, team. Well, thank you so much and hope everyone has a good day. Bye now.